man, the challenges that people are facing, and I think your
Hmm.
your go-to is always my go-to. If you're having challenges in your business, it may not be needing more leads. It's trying to find that
Yep.
hole in the funnel. Welcome to the Contractor's Edge, the show where we break down the tips, tools, and tactics that you need to grow your home service business. Whether you're in a truck or at the office, we're here to give you the edge you need to win. I'm Mike Stiers.
And now I'm Anthony Brown.
So, Anthony, this episode is going to be recapping the world of concrete, your first experience in Las
Yeah.
Vegas. So that was sweet. And
It's
just to talk about the show in general, what we experienced, and to let the listeners know there's more than just concrete at the World of Concrete.
yeah.
So
And I was gonna say it was taking Contractors Edge on the road. So that was a lot of fun. It like seeing Vegas for the first time is kind of like culture shock to me. Growing up where I grew up, I kept telling people when I was at the conference, this thing is bigger than any production I've ever seen. Like I've been to Ohio State football games. I haven't been to an NFL game yet, but like this production was bigger than that. And that was one of those things I used to go, wow, look at how much goes into this, right? These way like the convention center was so big, it was hard to like conceptualize. Like, how did they fit so much in here? And then think how much money is spent, how much economy is going through like those 3 days. You have all this big equipment, these like really like well structured and like thought out displays. Like there was so much going on. And then all the products and offerings and services and companies like exhibitors, not even just the attendees, like there's so many of them. It was fun to go around and see all the different offerings and how they like intertwined with the different services that are, kind of involved with concrete and concrete businesses. That for me was, like really eye opening. You don't realize how much is tangential or peripheral or, it like feeds into each other.
yeah, I think we were kind of laughing. What it was like, probably about my 30th ish time, plus or minus, just being out to Vegas in general. But, I spent all those years in the 12-volt industry, with CES, so Consumer Electronics Show. And that was wild to see that, firsthand. And then my first experience at World of Concrete, going out with Basement Doctor and Nash, that was eye-opening because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how does this exist at such a grand scale?" To keep up with something as crazy as, what you saw at CES. And, one of the cool things I was glad you got to experience was literally with the international folks that were coming in. And they
Right.
were literally, I mean, they told you, World of Concrete. That's why we're here. We're learning about this. We're interested in improving and like getting more information. So I was glad you guys got to experience that as well.
Yeah.
So what's your
Just
favorite part? Like, what was your favorite part of the show?
So my favorite part of the show was like as like I can't turn off the advertising brain, right? Like it's one of those things you go out into public and it's like you're judging people's menus at the restaurant and like what is the name that they chose for this and that, and just being like immersed with so much branding and like so much messaging was kind of my favorite part. And so like I'm looking left and I'm looking right and I'm like, oh, I really like that one. I was like, oh, I would have done this differently. Like just constantly being in that frame of mind was like really fun for me. I've always liked that about conferences, right? You're assessing like maybe who's the biggest player, who's the most effective player, who has the coolest offer, who had the coolest magnet. Like so, I said this to Mike. One of these vendors or exhibitors, they hired a barista to be there all 3 days for all hours of like exhibiting and just sitting there making lattes for people. And she was good at it. Like they
She was
didn't
good.
they didn't ask one of their regular employees to do it. This girl makes freaking lattes and she was amazing at it. But it was an incredible magnet for that vendor to get people to stand in front of their booth to consume all of their messaging. And then to engage with them while a coffee is being made. And, it's a nice specialty coffee. It's not just getting poured out of a drip cup, like
Mm.
you have that amount of time to engage with this person, and it's low pressure, it doesn't feel forced. I was like, that's a really, really good magnet. It's something I think other people should be pursuing. I wouldn't be opposed to us doing it ourselves. You get a few minutes to just talk to somebody.
I'd like to have coffee on demand. I mean, you could sign me up for that anytime. I even thought, man, how cool would it be to even have like a keg in the booth? Talking to the National Foundation Repair Association, they were exhibiting, and that's what I was glad you also got to experience the differences between the halls because we were in the North Hall, and that's where a lot of tech companies were, a lot of the big construction companies, and Central Hall was kind of a mix. You saw that too, giant trucks and machinery, and then by the time you
Hmm.
get to the South Hall,
Equipment.
that's where you had the individual, really like products and
Yeah.
mechanisms and tools. And, obviously the majority of our guys that we deal with that do the flat work, standard foundation repair, concrete resurfacing, lifting and leveling. And so,
Hmm.
they were all there. So we spent time there. I think I averaged 8.5 miles per day. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, and that was obviously between the show and then after hours. But I think you learned a lesson on your shoes for after hours.
Yeah, man. I only packed two pairs of shoes, and one was for comfort, and the other was for presentation. And I kept those presentation shoes on longer than I should have, and
Yeah.
forgot to swap to the comfort ones because you were showing me the town, and I also was averaging 8 miles a day walking in the wrong pair of shoes. But
I don't know how you did it. I mean, kudos to
strength.
you. Obviously, I had those, sweet Contractors Edge orange shoes, but I opted not to bring them knowing how much we were gonna be standing and walking, so
Hmm.
oh.
Yep.
No, it was good to see our
My
friends too. I mean, just in the general networking, space, getting to catch up with Sean Worthington over at the BHA, Jay Wells and Ed Meyer at the NFRA, getting some time with Jim the plumber. I haven't had a chance to talk to, but we ran in these circles for so long that it was, nice to be able to get together with them. We had Julio and his team with Crack Stitch, so that was nice. And
hmm
then getting to go out and do a little top golf with their team and our team. The networking is mission critical to me, and obviously for our audience too. I mean, if you're going out to these conferences, take the time to you know make some friends, talk to the
hmm
people within the industry, because there's so much shop talk that actually happens after hours, and to
hmm
me it's even more valuable than what can actually happen at the conference itself.
No, that's so true. And like you never know who you're going to bump elbows with and what they can offer you. Everyone has their individual and unique challenges, right? And some of them are unique to a market, some of them are unique to a vertical. But you'll find like there's probably somebody out there who's had your problem before. Right. And if you talk to the right people, they can guide you. There's like an idiom that I can't think of right now, but it's like don't make all of the mistakes. Learn from the mistakes other people make before you, in similar situations. So you don't have to learn the hard lessons, right? So one of the things that I really liked, like kind of going back to the exciting like things to me is the difference in companies. So of
Yes.
the attendees, you had kind of truck, we like to call them, just small mom and pop operations. Maybe they're doing 150,000, 200,000 a year in revenue. I ran into one who had been doing that for 20 years. I was like, okay, like you like what you do. You like being solo operation. You probably had opportunities to scale in the past, and maybe that wasn't for you, right? But you're still here trying to stay like relevant in the industries, trying to like learn the new cool things, the technologies that are coming out, and just arm yourself to stay like a very relevant contractor. But then you had the $10 million companies, you had the $20 million companies. We spoke to a $1.3 billion company,
Yep.
and that wasn't even private equity.
Wow.
So it was really interesting to see the diversification and scale, right? And be able to talk to people, especially if they were in the right positions, to know the different challenges that their business faced as they made it through those milestones along the way. Uh, like very eye opening, really cool conversations, like in all directions.
Yeah, and this is typically so when I was attending this, with our team back when we were, with the basement doctor in Nash, we would typically go, you know, Ed always went because he just had a knack for negotiating with vendors, but, he was a sales manager. Ron went as the owner. I went as the marketing director just because I always wanted to, like, build up my, experience. What were we seeing in the trades? What conversations we're having? I needed to learn more about products, and I had that cool product background. And then, like, Nate Reed had gone with us, and, on the Nash side, he really determined a lot of the products that we would be working with. So I found it to be kind of that same mix. We saw a lot of owners and a lot of, like, installation guys, not so much on the sales. Maybe a few. We had a few marketing folks that stopped by. It was great to see some of our clients. Um, Jordan with Tomlinson Cannon. I know the Bluegrass crew stopped by, so it was really
Hmm.
great to see them. Some of these folks we don't get to see too often in person, so that's
Hmm.
always obviously exciting for me to just get spend a little bit of time, at the conference, and then if you can catch them after hours, that's even better. Go grab a good bite to eat, which there's never a shortage in Vegas of good food. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, it was so big that like there were like first of all, I would like tell my friends like, "Oh, I'm going to this thing. I'm in Vegas for this thing." And they're like, "Oh, I've heard of that before." First of all, I'm like, "Oh, wow, really?" Like it for me this seemed like niche but it's so large like that like it touches a lot of different industries that like it has pretty broad reach. I actually had a friend whose family has a company that was exhibiting there. And I was like, wait, she's like, oh, you're at this conference? And I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, my cousin's there. I was like, you should go say hi to him. So it turned out to be a local Ohio business too, which was really cool.
really cool.
It's Concrete Sealants Inc., right? And they've been doing this, obviously, concrete business. They've been doing this for 17 years. And that's another one of those um, really cool observations is that was my first time, right?
Mhm.
But here I was talking to somebody who's done this for 17 years, and you had that like broad array of people who this is their first time, this is their fifth time, this is their 20th time, and you can talk to them about the different iterations of the conference, of the trainings, of the offerings, of the industry, right? It was just really cool to see that.
Contractors, quick reality check. You spent the money to advertise, you got the lead, you set the appointment, and you sold the job. Awesome. But if production's leaking profit, you might as well light a stack of cash on fire because marketing cannot fix sloppy installs. That's why I want you to check out our friends at Performance IO. Will Blake and his team built a pay for performance platform that helps you recruit and keep top talent, motivate installation teams, and simplify the whole process. Managers get control over pace, labor, and profit job by job. Will has been running it in his own company with 14 crews for over 3 years. Across thousands of crews on their platform, the averages are strong. About 12% increase in productivity, a 3 to 4% decrease in labor, and collections improving by 11%. Simply put, that's margin back in your pocket so you can reinvest, hire, and grow without chaos. Now, Will made a special offer exclusively for the Contractors Edge listeners, and it's only available for a limited time. Use the link in the description to book your demo and get 2 free months, but you have to do it by March 31st. And when you reach out, tell Will and his team that you heard about the deal on Contractors Edge. Go to the number 4, MANCE.io.
We also had going back to your networking, Mike.
Yep.
We had a really cool like kind of after party like event because Ron Greenbaum was there, and
Oh,
we
that
have
was so
these
cool. Yep.
yeah, we have these contacts, people he knows from like his day, like being on the ground, being that hunter, chasing his
Mhm.
growth, and we were able to gather, a whole bunch of like-minded individuals, people that we worked with in the past, people he worked with in the past. And we had a nice little cocktail hour, shared a lot of stories about the different
War
industries.
stories.
Yeah, war stories. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And you you want to find those type of relationships, man, like those mentorships. I remember, I was in attendance last year when Ron won a bunch of awards, and we got to hear what people would say, like about like his impact on their journey, right? And like those are the type of feelings that like you want to create. This is the type of impact that you want to leave on the world. It's like I helped bring value in all these different ways. And like seeing that last year at the award show and then seeing that also in that like cocktail hour, people are telling
Mhm.
these stories, talking about how like still to this day, they're training their guys based on these, Ron Greenbaum isms,
Yes.
these catchphrases, these like principles that like he instilled in them that are, like Ed Meyer's one of our like favorite guys to talk about when it comes to sales training, sales coaching, and a lot of things like he learned from his time with Ron, right, and has been able to evolve his approach, but still keep a lot of those principles that he learned along the way. Um, and then also just down to the business owner level, right? Like what it looks like to make it through those different transitions and like what are those challenges? How do you hire a new salesperson? Like what is it like when you lose them? Like there's just so many challenges that arise that like hearing how different people address them can give you ideas on like what is the best course for me to deal with that problem like looking forward. And I really love those conversations.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was fantastic too. And, being able to have Ron there and kind of just having that very almost intimate, cocktail hour, getting him to share these war stories. I know, Jay Wells, president with the National Foundation Repair Association, he was really motivated because he's been trying to talk to a lot of these, legends in the foundation repair industry to capture these stories. And a lot of what you get is how did they navigate the industry? How did they navigate these challenges that every business faces even today? And yes, things have changed a bit, but that's more of like technology and competition. What didn't change is the way that they were, operating and doing things. They have these fundamentals that still carry over to this day. And that's what I thought was fantastic. Cause I mean, I saw Jay there literally like in his mind documenting everything and setting it up to, have future conversations with Ron to get a bit more information. But, and then Tony Daughtry, he's in there and wow, to have someone with such a thundering voice, I don't think he had a chance to even talk to rest his voice because he had like almost nothing left. He's been on a continuous training and everything he had going on. Obviously, he's someone that we would like to have as a guest on the podcast here in the near future. But again, someone that's heavily entrenched out there, has a lot of wonderful relationships, and really can bring back and loves to contribute to the industry. And that's
Hmm.
who I personally love to surround myself around is the folks that, like what we do. We're trying to connect people. We're trying to bring people here that can share this information, like you said, overcome obstacles and challenge. We call it cheat codes, but if we can help you not spend a whole bunch of money or make these terrible mistakes just by the information that we give in these shows or our guests bring, now we're saving you time and money and we're doing exactly what you and I are passionate about. So, that obviously keeps me motivated and very excited.
Hmm. Yeah,
Well, I know that
absolutely.
we had some other shows that were going on at the same time. Uh, we had
I thought it was
IRE,
funny.
so, the roofing conference was out there. So we
Hmm.
saw a lot of people kinda sneaking back and forth. We had some clients that kind of, operate in the foundation repair world, but then also, operate in that roofing realm. So, it was nice to see them kind of skating between the 2 shows. Um, then you had the other one, what the AVN, the adult video
Yeah, so
news.
they were advertising that one like crazy. You couldn't get into a cab without seeing that on top of it, right? Like
Cabs,
that had a
billboards.
whole lot of marketing around it.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe just a little bit. I have a feeling, some of the guys that were at our World of Concrete may have snuck over into that one too.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, maybe stayed for the weekend.
I'd like to talk a little bit about, the discussions that we had in our booth because this is what I think our audience will really appreciate. Gosh, I we had to have talked to hundreds of people,
Mm-hmm.
that stopped by, and we were there, as Contractors Edge, which was a first time thing for us. I had killer swag, so kudos to Alyssa and Sarah and the team that put all of that together. So it was exciting. Rolled out our new playbook, specifically to the attendees. This is something you and I are going to talk about in a future episode. And then
Mm-hmm.
we'll roll out, to the general public, to other contractors as well. But man, the challenges that people are facing, and I think
Mm-hmm.
your go-to is always my go-to. If you're having challenges in your business, it may not be needing more leads. It's trying to find that
Yep.
hole in the funnel.
I always go there first. Like it's so important for you to understand your machine. Like Like just going back to the like fuel efficiency argument. It's like, why would you pour more fuel into something that's running at like a 10% efficiency? Like it just doesn't make sense. So the easiest thing you can do and the most savings that you're ever going to find is to improve your system, increase your closing percentage, like
Yeah.
improve your lead management, get back to your leads faster so you can book more appointments, like optimize your routing schedule so you have less windshield time, protect your profit margins because inflation is driving things up. Like there's so many different inputs that you need to pay attention to, and the easiest thing in the world is to say I need more leads.
Yeah.
Like so that's instinctual. It feels natural a lot of the time. Like if I just get more opportunities to swing, I'm going to hit like more bases. But it's like, but what if you actually improved the rate in which you hit the ball?
Yeah, I mean, that was the majority. Sometimes you kind of feel like a broken record of sorts, but we're probably one of the few folks that were actually there specifically talking about key performance indicators and having the visibility to those, and therefore educating people on their responsibilities, having accountability, and then really being able to manage those and get those minor improvements. Scenarios that you walk through and talk to most of these contractors, you could tell they almost felt like, "Oh, that's unbelievable." Like, could we really get to that point? Yes, you can. I mean, that's the biggest thing is once you realize where you're operating at, you can start to identify some of those deficiencies. And I encourage if you're a new listener, because I will say we picked up a whole bunch of subscribers,
Yeah, we
which
did.
was excellent. That was part of us being there was really trying to increase our listener base and awareness of what we do, and the feedback that we received was very, very nice, and we appreciate that. But it's go back, listen to the old KPI episodes that we did, and understand that these are KPIs that won't change within your business. So once you understand how you're operating, it's really just like fine tuning those and just improving them. The old 10% or 2% rule,
Yeah.
you can make a drastic difference within your operations, which obviously helps with your growth and your bottom line.
Yeah, and like going back to like because this ties into like looking at and comparing everybody's different offerings and their presentation, right? Like
Yeah.
there are people who spent tons of money creating like a really good booth or making a very strong offer to try and get people's attention or having those magnets. We never got that painting or that drawing. We were going to get this awesome thing that we could share with the
Yeah,
audience.
the caricature drawing, that would have
Yeah,
been
the
awesome.
caricature. We
Yep.
were going to do a contractor's edge caricature. It would have been
Yeah.
awesome. But that's a good way to get people to sit down, right? But like this also are principles that you can take down just to a home service business or businesses, right? Is like, are you doing a good enough job with your materials? Are you presenting your company well enough to look like the better option to your competitors? Like all of these different things matter. And then once again, are you offering anything different from the guy next door? Right.
Yeah,
So
that's a
like
good point.
for me, it was like reinforcing, especially because a lot of these people are in the same industry. A lot of them are doing a lot of the same stuff. What's the difference between your hard hat and their hard hat, right? What's the difference between your drill and their drill? What's the difference between, and like seeing how people addressed those comparisons and like, planted those landmines and like built that value and differentiation, like, was something that I paid attention to that I think contractors and business owners should do more often. Like it's not always the best thing to like underinvest in yourself, right? Like maybe you do need a better brochure or pamphlet. Maybe you do need to update that logo from 1987, right? Like maybe you do need a new TV commercial that wasn't made in the 90s, right? Because what you are showing to your customer base matters a lot. So, and like in environments like that, you can't be the one that looks dated, and you can't be the one that looks like the lesser like option, right? And
No, it's very true. And I'm glad that you bring that up because this does relate to, our listeners. And whether you're a manufacturer or, you're providing, work for homeowners, when you go to these different trade shows and you're investing in that, you have a presence. So there's a concerted effort. You're putting people in the booth, you're paying for that real estate. How many booths did we walk past that there's no way we would even talk to them, and the people were just staring at their cell phone, not making any kind of eye contact. The display was nothing, attractive. It was kind of blah. And then there was the flip of that, which we could see from, all the way down this path, like, oh my gosh, we have to go talk to these people. And there was a lot of excitement. I mean, you and I, we were laughing, having a conversation in our own booth. Fella across the row, about three over, comes over and says, "Hey, you guys look like the most fun booth on the block." And, we just started having that conversation, and it obviously led to a significant, conversation, very meaningful. But it's amazing, like the energy, the professionalism, what's on your backdrop, what do you have on your table? Do you clearly have an offer? Is it recognizable? Ron always said that 100 or the 100 mile per hour walk past. You have to be able to tell me what you do as I'm walking past, because that's all the chance you have to get my attention. And if I like
Hmm?
what you've got and I feel like it's relevant, we'll have a conversation. So
Hmm?
it's definitely
Yeah,
interesting.
just
Yeah, trade shows are something else, and still
well,
alive, just a little different. Even World of
yeah.
Concrete. They
I
condensed it
think COVID
down on a number
affected
of days.
things. I think COVID affected things a lot, right? And now we're getting back to a norm that we were used to. These things are really big in these industries. If you were one of those people who experienced World of Concrete coming out of the COVID era, you might have thought that it was dead. From what everything I hear, it was my first time. This
Yeah.
was one of the bigger bigger times period for that show. There was a lot of life, that's for sure.
Yes. No, there's a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. Obviously, for us, very busy show, wonderful engagement, and now we've obviously got a lot of folks to follow up with and talk to. Outside of that, uh, wonderful investment of time and resources to be able to get with our current network affiliates, plus create some new relationships. I know you're always incredibly entertaining when we can get you out there and let you just turn it up in those karaoke places. I mean, I'm telling you, and you know what, listeners, I'll tell you, if you're interested in seeing one of these video clips from Anthony, be sure to chime in. Alyssa, put this out as a short reel for us on social. And so for our audience, if you're interested in seeing the amazing skills that Anthony has, as an incredible voice, let us know and we'll share it. We'll share that video. Because
I
man,
got
I'll tell you, it's so impressive. I love it. You get the crowd going. It's always fun, entertaining. And it's just like that extra little element.
I gotta do karaoke, man. It's a problem. You guys should not be encouraging this. I actually should seek professional help. I I love karaoke. I do it so often. I just added another state to the map. Mike was making jokes that when we finish our we want to have studios so we can stop using this little virtual display that you see in the background here.
Yeah.
And my decoration should include my obsession with karaoke and like kind of showcase where all I've done it. We have a lot of clients all over the country, and when I'm visiting my clients because we like to get in front of them every so often, I find some karaoke in the evening, let off some steam, have a little bit of fun. And I think I'm definitely over 20 states now that I've done karaoke in. I'm over 3 countries that I've done karaoke in. It's a great like a vehicle of expression for me. So I'm glad you like it, Mike.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, yeah, maybe if we get enough like interest, Alyssa will drop some of those clips because Mike likes to record.
Heck yeah. No, I got them, man. I've got them. Our clients
Yeah.
always ask for them. That's the funny part. So, but no,
Hmm.
I absolutely love it. It's always fun to go on the road trips with you and, you know, form these new relationships with all these folks and be entertained all along the way. So,
So
I don't want
I
to
was just
make this a really long episode, but I want to
I
ensure
wanted to say
that,
one more thing before you
yeah,
wrap, if you were planning on wrapping, Mike,
sure.
because I don't think we went into like immediate tips and like challenges that came up a lot as much as I would like to. One of the things that I noticed a lot is like people have gone away more often from leads, like generating leads. Like that was a conversation that I had a lot. People like you find in marketing and advertising, I think I've said this on the podcast before, that you kind of get this bad rap. Like a good analogy to this is like attorneys. Like most people don't like attorneys. They think that they're these bad people. They have some memory or like some story that they heard that like these guys ripped somebody off, or they're ambulance chasers, or they're this, they're that. That happens a lot with marketing too.
Sure.
People have their first interaction with marketing and they're like, hey, I tried Google Ads with my Google rep, and we did PMAX and like maximize conversions, and that stuff doesn't work, and I'm not wasting my money there, and like it creates these like, kind of like traumatic experiences that they have that push them away from marketing like going forward. And what I noticed a lot of is when we would ask people like, what do you do for leads, they'd say, oh, we're referral only. And it's like, oh, we're B2B, so we only need referrals. Like we don't really need lead generation. And it's like, oh, or we used to do TV and that stuff doesn't work anymore. That's archaic. That's old machinery that nobody uses these days. None of those things are true, guys.
No,
So
they're not true at all.
yeah, it's one of those things you have to try and fail sometimes. You have to experiment. You have to try out a marketing agency, and not everybody is as good as the next person. And don't let one experience like rob you of the opportunity to find the right fit for you. Maybe there is a better platform than the one that you were using before, but maybe there was a better driver of that machine, right? Like uh, we see it all the time, and I'll say it again and again. Google Ads is a good place to advertise. We would not
Yep.
push you in that direction if we did not feel that way. They have they own search. You got to be there. Your competitors are there. Just find somebody who's going to run the machine the way it needs to be ran to be effective for your business, right? And if you are living off of referrals, chances are you're kind of primed to grow if you actually start bringing opportunities in to your business. And if you are a B2B business, you can still do lead generation. This is not just for B2C operations. You can generate leads coming from other businesses that are looking for services that you offer. There is still a buyer and there is still a seller, and you can still find ways to make those connections. So I just wanted to mention that, Mike.
No, and I really appreciate you doing that, because that obviously brings two ideas to my head. First and foremost, speaking about Google Ads or just like marketing and advertising in general, I always think of the folks that are trying it themselves or using some local guy. That's kind of like DIYing it or using a hack. There's a huge difference, because when you start working with, an agency that has a huge portfolio and they're certified across all these things and they can show you time and time again success, that's an expert. That's like a master mechanic. And so there's stages obviously between that all the way down to DIYing it. But DIYing Google Ads these days, good luck. You're not going to get very far with that. So I could see why it doesn't work. The other one that you brought up, the B2B aspect, it is mind blowing to me, because I come from the B2B. I come from manufacturing and distribution before I ever even got into home service. And it was funny because the conversations that we used to have internally was the same thing. Why would we ever want to market as a manufacturer? That doesn't make sense. We're selling to distributors. Who the heck even knows what your product is? And if you're asking a distributor to do the advertising on your behalf to market to their folks, they don't even know how to speak the right language. So,
Mhm.
you go from the manufacturer who's talking about this product expert, they translate that to a contractor. Contractor takes whatever that spec sheet is that they give you, and then they hand that to the homeowner right over their head. The homeowner needs to be spoken to in a completely different way. And,
Mhm.
hey, maybe we're just some of those guys that can speak that language, but I know we had some jaws drop and some, eyes open up real big when we were having those conversations with those manufacturers. Same thing. It's like, hey, There's a reason why the manufacturers of these really great products also establish themselves as a brand. It's so that anything else that you roll out beyond that point gets consideration. And then if you're working through, distribution, big box, or, direct to a contractor, whatever the case may be, arm them appropriately too. Understand what is their target audience that they have to present to.
Mhm.
And if you give them some materials that are made for the buyer's eyeballs and consumption,
Yes.
they understand it totally different. And then you have success. And I think that's that missing element there, because we do see, even on the contractor side, sometimes they're just handing a homeowner a spec sheet. Like, that's not going to get you anywhere. A homeowner wants to understand, all right, why is my concrete sinking over here? And, you give them
Mhm.
a spec sheet about how much your foam can, withstand and everything else. No, 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 no. Just tell me, like, why did it happen? How can you fix it? And how long is it going to be good for? I mean, as a homeowner, that's what I'm interested in. It's the same thing with the roofers, where they get so stuck on, like, granular specifications on these product details, instead of what is the benefit of using, number one, your service versus someone else,
Mhm.
because everybody's selling the same stuff. And, what is the advantage of maybe your products if they're proprietary? Uh, you know, tell the story with clarity and understand who your audience is and what they really care about. That's just such a big piece of the message for me.
Absolutely.
All right, Anthony. Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I guess the last little bit was, how was your time on Fremont Street?
My time on Fremont Street was awesome. So I didn't know what old Vegas meant. Like I didn't know anything about Vegas. Okay, never been there. All I heard was there's a big sphere and the UFC is in it sometimes. And Fremont Street was incredible. That like ceiling light thing that was constantly doing a light show was incredible. The energy of everybody there. I really like to be in those environments. It's one of the reasons I like karaoke. Like, everyone's there to be happy and have a good time, and I like to be caught up in that energy. I felt a lot of that on Fremont. The lights, the colors, the people, the different experiences. We went to the Nerd. Um,
Yep.
the Nerd was so cool. They had WCW memorabilia and like Star Wars stuff and like old arcade games. And it was just this really cool, fun, nostalgic environment. I really loved that. But then you could stray over to like another completely different experience that's all part of this one strip, this one walkway. So like it was it was overwhelming in a sense, being a small town boy, but I was giddy. I was smiling the whole time. I had so much fun. I really appreciated having, Mike as a tour guide, just showing me around. He said he's been to Vegas many a
Love that.
time, and he showed me some really cool places. You don't have that where I'm from, so
Yep. No, glad you got to go. Glad you got to experience it. For our listeners, if you're in the, foundation repair space, concrete, resurfacing, lifting, any flat work, get out to World of Concrete. If you're a waterproofer, crawl space, business, there are advantages to actually going out there, making the contacts, walking the show, talking to the industry affiliates, and then, obviously enjoy your time in Vegas. So, but I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to set it up to go back next year. This was a wonderful show for us. Great opportunity. First time out, as Contractors Edge, fully exhibiting. Obviously, you and I have spoken as Contractors Edge at some of these conferences for educational purposes.
right.
But this was a little different, got to take the team out, talk to people, make a lot of new relationships, and I think that's key. So, this episode was a little laid back, for our listeners, and we're looking forward to jumping right back into the educational side of things in the next episode. So, with that, thank you for listening to the Contractor's Edge. Please make sure that you follow, like, and subscribe to our show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or whichever streaming service you prefer. Share this episode with another contractor who could use an edge. For more tools, resources, and support, visit yourcontractorsedge.com. We'll be back soon with more tips, tools, and tactics to help you grow your business.